run through of the current state of creating contracts inside of HubSpot. So once you know who you want to create the contract for, you're going to search for them in HubSpot, and this is our next prospect. You're then going to come down to contact type, and you're going to move them from no contact type to outbound lead. You'll notice that there are a couple of dependent fields that come up. The lead status is now going to be open a deal because they're ready for a contract. And again, another dependent field pops up. You either have to choose whether they're doing business as an individual or as a company. So because we're in the business of personal branding, some individuals want a personal brand for themselves, and then they're assigning the contract for themselves versus having their company pay for it. So in this case, I'm going to click individual and hit save. Now we're going to go and make sure that the person's address and their company is filled out. So I'll make sure that this person does have an actual company. I'll also make sure that under view all properties, that the company field and the address fields are filled out. In this case, I may not have the address just yet, so we'll just go through the motions. So first thing I'm going to check is company. So this is an automation already in HubSpot where the company name for the company record copies over to the company name on the contact record. So that is perfectly good. I believe I do not have an address, so you will just do the same thing under view all properties and search for street. I do have address. Street, let's see, city, looks good. State, region, Georgia, and postal code or zip code, 3004. Excellent. So that's the address for this person. Now that we have that information, we're now going to go over to the property that is, are you ready to make a deal? So I'm going to go back to view all properties. And are you ready to create a deal? And I'm going to say yes. This particular field is your trigger for an automation to now create a deal automatically. So I hit save. And the reason why we're waiting for the step is the copying over the company address and the client address and all that. You need to be able to do that before you actually create the deal. So once we are in the motions and we have this general practice, we can set the trigger on something a little bit less cumbersome. So now I go back to my contact property, and it's unlikely that the deal is already created, but it might have already created. Okay, so now that I click that yes button, this deal automatically created. I'm now going to go inside the deal. I should have an automation that changes the name of this deal, so I will wait for that automation to kick in. In the meantime, I'm going to go down on the left-hand side here, and I'm going to start filling out these service agreement information. So the project deal preferred name is going to be, because this person is dealing on an individual basis, it is going to be Steve Sanford. Their address should actually copy over automatically, and actually the preferred name should also copy over automatically from the contact. So we'll wait to see. This was just created, so I'll wait to see if the automations do click in. So let's update. Let's see. And the automations have not kicked in yet. So let's just continue with the rest of it. And the project deal duration is going to be 12 months. So you have the guidelines of how to fill this in. So the word 12, then the number 12, and then the time frame, months, days, years, whatever. Okay. Project deal start date. This is going to be for the 1st of October. You're then going to hit the project payment date. Again, that'll coincide with the project start date, unless you've been told that the first payment is sooner. Then we're going to, unless you were specified any other billing cycle, you're going to select monthly as a default. We are trying to move to quarterly, but we're not quite there yet. Project deal invoice method. This is going to be auto charged by default unless that's negotiated out. All of these terms are I will put the defaults here, and then they can be all the rest of the options are what could be negotiated into the contract. So auto charge is your default. Renewal terms is 1 year is your default. Project renewal type automatically is the default, and payment terms immediately is your default. So they have to pay upon receipt, immediately upon receipt of the invoice. So these are all the defaults, and anything that is more relaxed than this can be negotiated into the contract in order to make the deal go through. Same thing with termination for convenience. That is something that helps the client but actually doesn't help Arcbound. So this stays blank as default. And the project deal increase rate is a default of 7% every year. So again, the default is blank here unless it's been negotiated to be a lower rate every year or 0. Now we get into what the actual person has bought from Arcbound, was agreed to invest in with Arcbound. So brand strategy and identity, these are the different products that we can offer within that service. In this case, it's going to be an Arc Launch Lite. Then we're going to the project deal, the monthly posting volume is 0 in this case. The video monthly posting is 0, newsletters is 0, podcast is 0, and then the book inclusions that are going to do the book doctoring. Okay, so those are all the products that this person is going to engage in. Once we're done with that, we're going to come over and actually provide the financial value of that. All right, just as a quick note, the automation has kicked in, so the name of the deal is updated as well as the preferred name and the address. Okay, so all of these fields populate over from the contact property. So that's the reason for the delay in creating the deal after you've updated those fields. Now we come over to the line items. This is where we add the financial value of this deal for Arcbound. So we're going to select items from the product library. The first item is going to be Arc Launch. This is a preparatory product or service, and so I'm putting in preparation, and it's really going to be personal branding without the website. So I'll click that and I'll add. Now, in this case, the deal was negotiated at $15,000 rather than $18,000. So in order to show the value to the client, we're going to include the fact that there is a $3,000 discount. Okay, so we'll keep that in there. Then we're going to add another line item, which is the book doctoring. So I'm just going to type in book, and we're going to look for book doctoring. There it is. And we're going to add that. And this is typically billed at 2,500 credits. So I'll come over here to my quantity at 2,500 credits. And I make sure that this does include, so again, this was quoted at 40,000. So I need to reduce that by adding a discount. And I'll say, let me just work out the discount. 40,000 of 65,000. So that is a discount of about 38%. So let's put that in 38, and to be specific, 0.46. Let's see. So it gets very close. It's $40,001. So what we're going to end up doing here is I just end up having to finagle the numbers. You add little bits of the discount just to see to get to the point where you are right on 40,000 on the money. So we can't quite get there. What we could potentially do is we could add a unit discount per dollar. And so, well, I'll save that for the video. So let's just put in the 34.46. So you can kind of get the idea that this is, 38.46. And you'll get the idea that it's $40,001, but I'll make sure that the $1 goes away. Okay, now the next thing is to actually figure out when they're going to pay for these items. So the schedule of payments, let me just look it up here. The schedule of payments are that let's see. Sorry for the long pause. Okay, I can't, it has not been included in the proposal. So I'll just make an example here. So the other thing in the proposal, we did actually have this as 6 to 8 weeks. So I'll just update that as 6 to 8 weeks. And this usually is paid at the time of payment. And then what happens is we start working on the products about 6 to 8 weeks thereafter. So let's say that's 2 months. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delay this payment for 2 months. So durations months 2. And so now what's going to happen is it's going to charge the client $15,000 up front and then $40,000 due 2 months later. Now typically the $40,000 is spread out over multiple months. So I would, once I know exactly how many months we are running this project for, whether it's 11 months or 14 months, typically then we will either spread the payment out over that amount of time, or make a monthly payment amount rather than one lump sum of 25,000 credits one time, or 2,500 credits one time. We would then reduce this to what a monthly credit is. So if it was 2,500 credits for 14 months, I would just divide 2,500 divided by 14, and that's about 178 credits a month. So then I would reduce that to a monthly, and I would change this one-time billing to monthly billing. Okay, so that's a start on how to add the amount that a deal is worth in HubSpot. So now when you hit save, you're going to update the deal amount, and now it's going to tell HubSpot that we have forecasted for revenue. We have forecasted an extra $55,000 in revenue. Okay. Now the next part, and I apologize for how long this video is, so pause it if you need to, but the next part is now adding a quote, because you actually want to put this in contract form. So I'm going to edit the line items again, because this is the easiest way to create the quote. You can actually, there's 2 ways which are very easy. You can either come to the line item, and before you exit, you hit the create and you hit the quote button. The other option is to go back to the deal, and once you come to the quote section, let it just reload. Once you click add, it will automatically add the quote from the line items that were actually in the set in the thing. And I'll just demonstrate. If I scroll down on the right hand side, all the line items should be in there. The preparation and the book doctoring is in there. Okay. Now the first thing we have to do with our contract, we have to figure out what quote to use from HubSpot. So in this case, it's just personal branding and book doctoring. So in this case, the website maintenance is chosen, but this is not the correct version. We also don't have a renewable contract, because personal identity, brand identity, or setting up your brand identity and then doctoring a book is a one-time project. So this would be a non-renewable contract. So I'm going to go down in this drop down. I'm going to look for a non-renewable contract that does not have a website in it, which is right here. I also have a non-renewable website agreement with no website with a termination for convenience. So this is only if that was negotiated in. What the termination for convenience means is that the client can terminate their contract and have like a sort of a cancellation clause where they can terminate with 60 days notice. We don't want to encourage that, obviously, to not have clients quitting on us with short notice. So we try to have contracts that are 12 months or more long, so that clients have to keep that obligation. So in this case, it's not renewable because it's a one-time project, and it does not have a website, and it does not have a termination for convenience. So this is the template that we're going to use. Now we have the correct name for the template. Everything's good here, and we can hit next. If you do want to add notes for the buyer or the terms, you can do that here, but it does not actually appear in the template. It only appears in the email. Okay, so let's hit next. And if in this case there was another contact that we needed to send this contract to, so maybe there's this person's assistant, and this person's assistant's name is Amy. You look for Amy in your existing clients, and you add Amy as the additional contact. In this case, it's just Steve. So we hit next, and we go to the next page, which is just showing who's actually sending the contract from outbound, which is me. And now you go over to the align items, and you can adjust whatever you need to do here based on any changes that happen last minute, and hit next. And now we get to the point where we're adding a signature. So you're going to say use signature. You obviously want to require that Steve signs, the client, and then you also want to make sure that Brian signs. So the CEO, Brian at Artbound. Okay, so you're going to have Steve and a countersign of Brian, and then that is basically the contract is done. You hit next to just make sure that everything looks good. Usually I start from the top, from the date that it's that the contract is effective. I then go to all my sort of the fields that I had to enter in that were customizable. So usually it's here where under fees and expenses, where it's monthly billing, invoices are due immediately, invoices are auto charged. Make sure that all that fills in. Usually the only customizable fields are in section 2 and section 3. And then as we scroll down all the way down to, I'll just double check that the address filled in, and then we scroll down to scope. Make sure that the client's name is in there, Steve Sanford, the actual date that I put in, that the thing starts, the contract duration, check the scope, and then I just make sure that, again, that the first payment does show due on the day that I want it to. Once I hit publish quote, it is now ready for you to send the link to the client and for them to sign it. I'm not going to do that right now because I believe that there is going to be some modifications to this. So this is just prepping this in case we are ready to send it tomorrow. What's likely going to happen is there are going to be a couple of last minute modifications or requests for contract negotiations, and then once we receive that information, I'll go in and modify it here, and then we send it off. Okay, so that's basically the idea of how to create contracts in HubSpot.